Have you ever stopped to think about how much power your emotions have over your life? One moment you're calm and composed, the next a single comment or unexpected challenge can completely knock you off balance. Now imagine this, a life where no insult, no chaos, no storm can shake your peace. A life where your inner calm becomes unshakable, no matter what happens around you. Sounds incredible, doesn't it? Here's the truth, it's entirely possible. Today, we'll uncover 10 life-changing Buddhist principles that can help you build this steady, peaceful state of mind. As Buddha wisely said, peace comes from within. Do not seek it without. Let's get started. If you appreciate what we're doing here, the simplest favor I'll ask from you is to hit the subscribe button. And don't skip any part of this video because you're not like the majority. You're an exception, and this message is tailored for someone just like you. Feelings are like guests. They come and go. Now imagine a life where no insult, no challenge, and no chaos can shake your peace. A life where your inner calm stays steady, no matter the storms around you. Sounds powerful, doesn't it? If you take just one thing from this video, let it be this. Inner peace is the key to a better life. Today, we'll explore 10 life-changing Buddhist principles to help you create your personal sanctuary of calm and strength. As Buddha wisely said, peace comes from within, do not seek it without. Let's begin. Have you ever noticed how a single comment or criticism can stick with you for hours or even days, replaying in your mind like a broken record? It's so easy to let someone else's harsh words or negativity take root in our thoughts and disrupt our peace. But what if you could break that cycle? Imagine you're walking by a calm pond. The surface is smooth and serene, reflecting the world around it. Suddenly, someone throws a stone. For a moment, the water ripples, but soon it settles back to stillness. That's how life is meant to be. The stones are the insults, criticisms, or harsh words we encounter, but those ripples only last as long as we let them. Buddhist wisdom teaches us that insults hold no real power unless we choose to absorb them. Buddha famously said, "Holding on to anger is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die." When someone throws negativity your way, it's natural to feel the sting, but holding on to that pain only harms you. Think about it. Why carry the weight of someone else's bad day, insecurity, or negativity? Their words say more about them than they do about you. By choosing to let go, you reclaim your power and protect your peace. The next time someone criticizes you, instead of reacting immediately, try this. Pause, take a deep breath, and ask yourself, do I really need to catch this insult? Visualize it as a passing cloud or a leaf floating downstream. Let it drift away without clinging to it. It's not always easy, especially when the criticism feels personal. But with practice, you can train yourself to see negativity for what it truly is, fleeting and powerless unless you hold on to it. Remember, your peace is your strength. Don't give it away so easily. Instead, focus on the calm within you and let that be your anchor, no matter what stones life may throw. They only disturb your peace if you let them. Buddhist wisdom teaches that insults hold no real power unless you absorb them. The next time someone criticizes you, pause and ask yourself, do I have to catch this insult? Take a deep breath and visualize it as a passing cloud. Let it drift away. Remember that holding on to an insult is like holding on to a burning coal. It hurts you far more than the person who threw it. Your peace is your strength. Don't give it away so easily. Instead, acknowledge the situation for what it is and let the negativity pass. Imagine climbing a mountain. You've planned your route and gathered your tools, but as you climb, you notice others taking different paths. Some are faster, some slower, and some seem lost. It's easy to feel frustrated or judgmental, but here's the truth. Everyone's journey is unique. Each climber is carrying their own load, facing their own obstacles, and choosing their own pace. Just because someone's path looks different doesn't mean they're doing it wrong. It simply means they're on their own journey, not yours. Buddhism teaches us to hold ourselves accountable to high standards while offering patience and understanding to others. This balance is key. For example, if you've committed to waking up early and exercising, stick to that commitment because it aligns with your values and goals. But when a friend skips their workout or chooses a different approach to health, resist the urge to criticize. Instead, extend them compassion. Maybe they're facing struggles you can't see. By understanding their unique circumstances, you cultivate harmony rather than judgment. Think about how often we hold others to the same standards we set for ourselves, expecting them to meet our level of discipline or commitment. This expectation creates frustration and unnecessary conflict. But what if we shifted our focus? What if we allowed others the grace to navigate their own challenges, just as we hope for understanding when we stumble? By being strict with yourself and tolerant of others, you not only grow stronger in your own discipline, but also nurture more meaningful and peaceful relationships. Remember, your mountain is yours to climb, and theirs is theirs. Embrace the differences, and you'll find peace in the journey, both yours and theirs. Buddhism teaches us to hold ourselves accountable to high standards while offering patience and understanding to others. If you've committed to waking up early and exercising, stick to it. But when a friend skips their workout, resist the urge to judge. Instead, remember that your mountain is yours to climb, and theirs is theirs. Each of us is walking our own path, facing our own challenges. By being patient with others, you create harmony, not division. Think about the last time someone really got under your skin. Maybe it was a colleague who dismissed your ideas without a second thought, a stranger who rudely cut you off in traffic, or even a loved one who said something hurtful. In those moments, it's so easy to let frustration or anger take over, isn't it? Our first instinct might be to react, to defend ourselves, or even to retaliate. But what if you took a step back and asked yourself a simple question? What can I learn from this moment? This shift in perspective can be transformative. Instead of seeing the situation as an annoyance or a source of stress, you can turn it into an opportunity for growth. This is the essence of transforming everyone into a teacher. Life is constantly giving us lessons, but they're not always wrapped up in a nice, neat package. Often the most valuable lessons come disguised as challenges or even frustrations. That colleague who dismisses your ideas might be teaching you the importance of persistence or the value of clearer communication. The stranger who cuts you off in traffic might be showing you how to practice patience or letting go of control. Even someone who hurts you deeply could be teaching you about resilience, forgiveness, or the boundaries you need to protect your peace. Buddha's wisdom reminds us that when watching after yourself, you watch after others. When watching after others, you watch after yourself. This means that every interaction is an opportunity to grow, not just for yourself, but for the benefit of those around you as well. When you adopt this mindset, the world begins to look different. Difficult people and challenging situations no longer feel like obstacles. Instead, they become mirrors reflecting areas where you can improve or lessons you need to learn. Imagine how empowering it feels to turn the tables on negativity by using it as a stepping stone for personal development. Suddenly, you're in control. You're no longer reacting to life, you're learning from it. Let's take a practical example. Suppose you're working on a team project and one member constantly misses deadlines or delivers subpar work. Your initial reaction might be frustration or even anger. But what if you paused and asked, what can I learn from this? Maybe this situation is an opportunity to practice assertive communication, to clarify expectations, or to strengthen your problem-solving skills. By approaching it with curiosity rather than judgment, you not only navigate the challenge more effectively, but also grow as an individual. To truly embrace this principle, try this simple practice. The next time you encounter a difficult person or situation, take a deep breath and remind yourself, this is a lesson. What can I learn from it? Write it down if you need to. Reflect on what the experience taught you about yourself, about others, or about life. Over time, this habit will help you approach challenges with a sense of curiosity and resilience. You'll find yourself less reactive and more thoughtful, turning even life's toughest moments into opportunities for growth. By transforming everyone into a teacher, you take control of your own development, you stop seeing others as problems to be solved and start seeing them as contributors to your journey. This doesn't mean accepting bad behavior or allowing yourself to be mistreated. Instead, it's about reframing your perspective so that you're always growing, always learning, and always moving toward a better version of yourself. In this way, even the most challenging interactions lose their power to disrupt your peace. They become part of your evolution, a part of your story, and a part of your strength. Life is full of lessons, and every interaction, even the unpleasant ones, can teach us something valuable. A challenging co-worker might teach you patience. A friend's success could inspire you to push yourself harder. The Buddha said, "When watching after yourself, you watch after others. When watching after others, you watch after yourself." This means that learning from others helps us grow, and our growth positively impacts those around us. Transform difficulties into stepping stones for personal development by seeing every person as a teacher. Imagine standing in the middle of a storm. The wind is howling, rain is pouring, and it feels like chaos all around. Yet inside your home, you're warm, dry, and completely safe. That's what inner peace feels like, a sanctuary no one can penetrate. But in our daily lives, we often leave that sanctuary unguarded. Someone's harsh words, a thoughtless comment, or even a rude stranger can seep into our minds and unsettle us. It feels personal, like an attack on who we are, and we react by either lashing out or letting it ruin our day. But here's the truth. No one can truly hurt you unless you allow them to. Buddhist teachings remind us that our peace comes from within and is ours to protect. When someone says or does something hurtful, pause and ask yourself, does this reflect who I am, or does it reflect their struggles? Often negativity from others is not about you at all. It's a mirror of their own inner turmoil, frustration, or unhappiness. By understanding this, you can detach yourself emotionally from their words or actions. You start to see that their negativity is a reflection of them, not a judgment of your worth. Mindfulness is your greatest tool here. It helps you create space between the stimulus and your response. When you feel that initial sting of someone's words, take a moment to breathe deeply and remind yourself that their behavior doesn't have to dictate your peace. Imagine their words as raindrops on a window. They slide down and leave no mark. You can choose to let their negativity pass without absorbing it. This practice of stepping back allows you to stay grounded and unaffected. It's not about ignoring what others do or pretending that hurtful actions don't exist. It's about reclaiming the power you have over your own emotions. You get to decide whether someone's actions will control your inner state. This shift in perspective is incredibly liberating. Instead of reacting to the storms of life, you become the calm within them. So the next time someone's words or actions sting, remind yourself of this. Their negativity doesn't belong to you. It's theirs to carry. By refusing to take it on, you protect your sanctuary, your inner peace and your strength, and that's a power no one can take away from you. When someone says something hurtful, pause and ask, does this reflect who I am, or does it reflect their struggles? Often negativity from others is a mirror of their inner turmoil. Protect your peace by refusing to take their words personally. Instead, practice mindfulness to create space between their actions and your reaction. By doing so, you'll stay grounded and unaffected. We've all been there. You're scrolling through social media and you see someone living the life you've dreamed of. Maybe they've reached a career milestone, achieved a fitness goal, or are traveling to stunning places you've only seen in magazines. That familiar pang of envy creeps in, and suddenly, you feel inadequate or left behind. But here's the thing, envy isn't necessarily a bad emotion. In fact, it can be a powerful tool for growth if you know how to channel it. Think of envy as a signpost. It's showing you something you deeply value, something you desire for your own life. Instead of letting it consume you or make you feel less than, ask yourself, what can I learn from this person's success? Shift your mindset from comparison to curiosity. For instance, if you admire someone's fitness journey, don't focus on how far ahead they are. Instead, study their habits. Do they prioritize consistency over perfection? Do they plan their meals or wake up early to exercise? By identifying the steps they took, you can start incorporating similar habits into your own life. This principle is about turning jealousy into inspiration. Envy doesn't have to weigh you down. Instead, it can push you to take action and create positive change. Think about a coworker who got the promotion you wanted. Rather than feeling bitter, consider the qualities or skills that helped them succeed. Were they proactive in taking on new responsibilities? Did they build strong relationships with colleagues? Use their success as a blueprint for your own growth. It's also important to remember that everyone's journey is different. Just because someone has achieved something doesn't mean you're behind. Life isn't a race, it's a personal journey. What matters most is that you're making progress toward your own goals. Instead of fixating on what you don't have, focus on what steps you can take to move closer to your dreams. Here's a practical way to start transforming envy into emulation. The next time you feel envious, write it down. Identify what triggered the feeling and what it reveals about your desires. Then, create a plan. Break down the steps needed to achieve something similar, tailoring it to your own strengths and circumstances. For example, if you admire someone's creativity, start a daily journaling or drawing practice. If it's their confidence, commit to small actions like speaking up in meetings or practicing self-affirmations. By turning envy into action, you reclaim your power. You're no longer stuck in a loop of comparison. Instead, you're using that energy to fuel your personal growth. Buddha's wisdom reminds us, do not be jealous of others' good qualities, adopt them yourself. When you focus on learning and improving, envy fades and inspiration takes its place. Remember, other people's successes are not barriers to your own. They're beacons, showing you what's possible. Let them guide you, not discourage you, and watch how your perspective transforms. Instead of letting envy consume you, turn it into inspiration. If you admire someone's discipline in fitness, study their habits and incorporate them into your life. Envy can be a powerful motivator when you shift your perspective. It's not about competition, it's about growth. Learn from others' successes and use them as blueprints for your own journey. Imagine you're holding onto a rope in a fierce tug-of-war with life itself. On the other end, life pulls back with all its might. Unexpected challenges, changes you didn't ask for, and circumstances you wish were different. The harder you pull against it, the more exhausted and frustrated you become. But what if, instead of struggling, you simply let go of the rope? Acceptance is not about surrendering in defeat. It's about choosing peace over resistance. It's about saying, this is what's happening right now, and I'm okay with it. In Buddhist philosophy, acceptance doesn't mean we agree with or approve of every situation. Instead, it means acknowledging reality as it is, without trying to fight against it or deny it. Buddha taught, accept what is, let go of what was, and have faith in what will be. This wisdom reminds us that life is full of ups and downs, and resisting what we cannot control only amplifies our suffering. Think about it. How often do we waste energy wishing things were different? Whether it's being stuck in traffic, facing rejection, or dealing with unexpected loss, our resistance doesn't change the situation. It only makes us feel worse. Consider a moment in your life when something didn't go as planned. Maybe you didn't get a job you wanted, or a relationship ended unexpectedly. The initial reaction is often frustration, sadness, or even anger. But when you pause and accept what's happened, you free yourself from being stuck in the why me mindset. Acceptance doesn't erase the pain, but it allows you to move forward. It helps you shift your focus from what's wrong to what's next. Here's a simple practice to cultivate acceptance in your daily life. When you feel resistance bubbling up, whether it's over something as small as a delayed appointment or as significant as a life-changing event, pause and take 3 deep breaths. As you exhale, silently say to yourself, "This is how it is right now." Notice how this simple acknowledgement softens the tension in your mind and body. It creates space for clarity, allowing you to respond to the situation with intention rather than react out of frustration. Acceptance is not passive, it's empowering. It allows you to conserve your energy for things you can control and find creative ways to adapt to what you cannot. For example, if you lose a job, acceptance helps you shift your focus from the loss to the opportunities it opens. You might discover new paths or skills you wouldn't have explored otherwise. If you face a health challenge, acceptance helps you find ways to adapt and live fully within your new reality. Another powerful way to practice acceptance is to embrace life's impermanence. Just as seasons change, so do our circumstances. The beauty of acceptance lies in trusting that every experience, good or bad, is temporary. Just like a storm eventually passes, so too will your current challenges. This perspective doesn't diminish your struggles, but reminds you that they're not permanent. Acceptance is the first step toward healing, growth, and peace. It teaches you to stop resisting life and start living it. Instead of pulling against life's rope, let it guide you toward greater understanding and resilience. When you stop fighting against reality, you open yourself to the beauty and opportunities that come with it. By embracing acceptance, you free yourself to move forward with clarity, purpose, and grace. Nature is one of the most profound teachers we have, offering endless lessons on resilience, adaptation, and balance. Think about the seasons. In autumn, trees shed their leaves without resistance, preparing for a period of rest in winter and renewal in spring. They don't cling to what they've lost. They trust the cycle of life to bring new growth. This same wisdom applies to our lives. Like nature, we too have cycles of growth, change, and letting go. When we align ourselves with these natural rhythms, we find a sense of balance and peace. Spending time in nature is a powerful way to reconnect with this harmony. When was the last time you really paused to notice the world around you? The gentle flow of a river, the intricate patterns in the bark of a tree, or the way sunlight filters through leaves can all remind us of life's simplicity and beauty. These moments ground us, pulling us away from the rush and distractions of modern life. Nature invites us to slow down, to breathe, and to just be. Living in harmony with nature also means embracing its lessons on impermanence. Nothing in nature stays the same forever. The weather shifts, flowers bloom and fade, and rivers carve new paths. These changes are not something to fear, but something to embrace. They remind us that challenges, like storms, are temporary. After the rain, the sun will shine again. By adopting this perspective, we learn to accept life's ups and downs with grace and resilience. Practically, you can start living in harmony with nature by simply spending more time outdoors. Take a walk in the park, sit by a lake, or even just step outside to watch the stars. Leave your phone behind and engage your senses fully. Notice the sounds, smells, and sights around you. Let nature's rhythms remind you to let go of unnecessary stress and reconnect with the present moment. Another way to align with nature is to reflect on your own life cycles. Are there areas where you're holding on too tightly? Maybe it's a past mistake, a relationship, or a version of yourself that no longer serves you. Like a tree shedding its leaves, let go of what no longer nurtures your growth. Trust that by releasing, you're making space for new opportunities and experiences. Nature also teaches us to work with, not against, its forces. Think about how farmers plant crops in accordance with the seasons. They don't fight the weather, they adapt to it. Similarly, in your own life, instead of resisting change or challenges, find ways to flow with them. Ask yourself, how can I grow from this experience? What is this phase teaching me? By living in harmony with nature, you develop a sense of interconnectedness. You begin to see that just like the cycles of the earth, your own life is part of something much larger. This awareness brings a deep sense of peace and belonging, reminding you that you're not separate from the world, but a vital part of it. Let nature guide you, and you'll discover a wellspring of wisdom, resilience, and calm that will carry you through life's seasons. Imagine a still, clear lake. When you toss a stone into it, ripples spread outward, touching every corner of the water. Our actions in life are just like that stone. They create ripples that reach far beyond what we can see. This is the essence of ethical living, being mindful of how our thoughts, words, and deeds affect not only ourselves but also the world around us. It's about striving to live in a way that creates harmony and positivity, even in the smallest of choices. Ethical living might sound like a lofty ideal, but at its core, it's about alignment, aligning your actions with your values. Think about the moments in your life when you've acted against what you believe in. Maybe you told a small lie, acted out of impatience, or made a choice that hurt someone else. How did that feel afterward? Most likely it left you unsettled, maybe even regretful. That's because when we stray from our values, we disrupt our inner peace. On the other hand, when we act with integrity, we create a sense of stability and calm within ourselves. The Buddha reminds us, what you think you become, what you feel you attract, what you imagine you create. This teaching underscores the importance of mindfulness in ethical living. Our thoughts shape our actions, and our actions ripple out to shape the world. By being intentional about the energy we put out into the world, we not only improve our own well-being, but also contribute to a more compassionate and just environment for others. Ethical living isn't about striving for perfection. We're all human, and we all make mistakes. What matters is the effort and awareness we bring to our choices. Start by reflecting on your core values. What truly matters to you? Is it kindness, honesty, fairness, or responsibility? Use these values as your compass, guiding you in your interactions and decisions. For example, if you value kindness, ask yourself how you can bring that into your daily life. It might mean offering a helping hand to a colleague, listening without judgment, or simply smiling at a stranger. In today's fast-paced world, it's easy to feel pulled in different directions, especially when faced with difficult choices. Imagine a scenario where taking a shortcut at work could bring you immediate rewards but goes against your principles. The temptation can be strong, but acting with integrity, even when it's inconvenient, fosters trust and strengthens your character. It's like building a foundation for a house. The stronger your foundation, the more resilient you become in the face of life's challenges. Ethical living also involves recognizing the impact of your actions on others. It's not just about avoiding harm, but actively doing good. Think about the small ways you can spread positivity. A kind word, a moment of patience, or an act of generosity. These might seem insignificant, but their ripple effect can be profound. Imagine the difference a single act of kindness can make in someone's day, and how it might inspire them to pass it on. One powerful practice to cultivate ethical living is reflection. At the end of each day, take a moment to review your actions. Ask yourself, did I act in alignment with my values today? Were there moments where I could have done better? This isn't about self-criticism, it's about growth. By regularly reflecting on your choices, you become more mindful and intentional in your actions. Another important aspect of ethical living is forgiveness, both for yourself and others. When we make mistakes, it's easy to fall into a cycle of guilt or blame, but holding on to those emotions only creates more suffering. Instead, acknowledge where you went wrong, make amends if necessary, and commit to doing better next time. Similarly, when others hurt you, practicing forgiveness allows you to release resentment and maintain your inner peace. And remember, ethical living isn't a destination, it's a journey. Each day offers new opportunities to choose integrity, compassion, and kindness. And as you make those choices, you'll notice a profound shift in your life. You'll feel more grounded, more at peace, and more connected to the world around you. Your actions will inspire others, creating ripples of positivity that extend far beyond what you can see. Living ethically is not just about staying unaffected by life's chaos. It's about thriving in it and helping others do the same. As the Buddha teaches, what you think, you become. Choose thoughts and actions that reflect the person you want to be, and watch as they ripple outward to shape a better world. When faced with a difficult choice, ask yourself, does this align with my values? Acting with integrity builds trust, strengthens your character, and brings peace of mind. Ethical living isn't about perfection. It's about striving to do good and creating harmony in the world. Gratitude is one of the simplest yet most transformative practices you can adopt. It's like a lens that shifts your focus from scarcity to abundance, from what's wrong in life to what's right. Think about how often we dwell on what we don't have, the things that went wrong or the opportunities that slipped away. Now imagine flipping that script and taking even a few moments every day to reflect on what you do have. Gratitude has the power to transform your entire outlook on life, making challenges feel smaller and joys feel bigger. Start small. At the end of each day, take a few minutes to list 3 things you're grateful for. These don't have to be grand or life-changing. In fact, it's often the little things that make the biggest difference. Maybe it's the way the sun felt on your face during your morning walk, the kind words from a stranger, or the simple joy of having a warm meal. Over time, this daily practice trains your mind to seek out the positives, even in difficult situations. Gratitude isn't just about noticing what's good, it's about deeply appreciating it. For instance, instead of just being thankful for your morning coffee, pause to think about the journey it took to get to your cup, the farmers who grew the beans, the workers who transported them, and the hands that prepared it. This awareness expands your appreciation and connects you to the bigger picture. When you cultivate gratitude, you also become more resilient. Life's challenges feel less overwhelming when you can see the good that exists alongside them. Gratitude doesn't erase difficulties, but it softens their impact by reminding you of your strength and blessings. It's not about ignoring what's hard, but about balancing it with what's beautiful. Another powerful way to practice gratitude is by expressing it to others. Think about someone who has positively impacted your life. When was the last time you told them how much you appreciate them? A heartfelt thank you not only strengthens your connection, but also spreads positivity. Gratitude is contagious. When you share it, you inspire others to do the same. The Buddha said, "Let us rise up and be thankful, for if we didn't learn a lot today, we learned a little. If we didn't learn a little, at least we didn't get sick. And if we got sick, at least we didn't die. So let us all be thankful." This profound teaching reminds us that there's always something to be grateful for, no matter how small. When you start focusing on your blessings, you'll notice they multiply. Gratitude isn't just an emotion, it's a mindset, a way of living that unlocks deeper joy, peace, and connection. Life can often feel like a tug of war with the universe. We pull and pull, trying to control every detail, every outcome, and every twist and turn. But the harder we pull, the more resistance we feel. It's exhausting, isn't it? Now imagine letting go of the rope. Trusting the process doesn't mean giving up. It means stepping back, surrendering the illusion of control, and allowing life to unfold naturally. The Buddha taught that attachment is the root of suffering. When we cling tightly to specific outcomes, whether it's a job, a relationship, or even an ideal version of ourselves, we set ourselves up for disappointment and frustration. Life is inherently unpredictable, and trying to force it into a rigid plan only creates more stress. Letting go isn't about apathy. It's about freedom. It's about focusing on what you can control, your actions, your mindset, your effort, and releasing the rest. Think about a river flowing to the sea. It doesn't resist the bends, rocks, or obstacles in its path. It flows around them, adapting as it moves forward. This is the essence of trusting the process. Life will have its twists and turns, but when you learn to move with them instead of against them, you find a sense of ease and resilience. One way to practice this principle is to focus on the present moment. When you catch yourself worrying about the future or obsessing over a specific outcome, pause. Take a deep breath and bring your attention back to the here and now. Ask yourself, now, what can I do right now to move forward? This simple shift in focus can help you release anxiety and channel your energy into meaningful action. Another key aspect of trusting the process is embracing uncertainty. It's natural to want to know what's ahead, but life's beauty often lies in its unpredictability. Some of the most wonderful opportunities come from unexpected changes. Trust that even when things don't go as planned, they can lead to growth, new possibilities, and deeper understanding. Letting go doesn't mean you stop caring or striving. It means you stop trying to control things that are beyond your reach. It means having faith in your ability to handle whatever comes your way. When you trust the process, you stop fighting against life and start flowing with it. In this flow, you'll find peace, clarity, and a renewed sense of purpose. As you move through life, remember this: the universe has its own rhythm, and when you learn to dance to it, you'll discover a sense of harmony and joy that no amount of control could ever bring. Trust the process, let go of the rope, and watch how life unfolds in ways you never imagined. The storms of life, insults, envy, challenges only disturb us if we let them. By applying these 10 Buddhist principles, you can build inner strength and resilience. Imagine a life where criticism doesn't shake you, comparison doesn't weigh you down, and you're fully present in the moment. Start with one step, one principle, and see how your perspective transforms. Life isn't about perfection, it's about progress. It's about finding peace in the small moments and strength in the challenges. These principles are your guide to a calmer, more fulfilling life, one rooted in understanding, compassion, and mindfulness. Thank you for being a part of Buddhist Journey. Your presence here means so much, and we're grateful to share this path with you. Before you go, take a moment to explore one of the suggested videos on your screen. Each one is filled with insights to help you continue your journey of self-discovery and peace. And remember, your journey doesn't end here. It's just beginning. Most people spend their days chasing something they can't quite name, running from one commitment to the next, collecting achievements, and holding their breath until everything finally feels perfect. But when the day ends and the noise fades, there's often a quiet emptiness that no amount of success seems to fill. The Buddha taught that this constant striving is like drinking salty water when you're thirsty. It looks like it should satisfy you, but it only leaves you wanting more. What if the peace you've been searching for isn't hidden in some future version of your life, but right here in the ordinary moments you keep rushing past? Today, we're going to explore a mindset that can help you let go of that relentless pressure and learn to love your life again, exactly as it is. These insights aren't complicated. They're simple practices that can transform the way you see your everyday world. So if you're tired of feeling like you're always behind or never quite enough, stay with me until the end, because the next few minutes might open a door you didn't know was waiting for you. And if you appreciate having a space where we can share these kinds of reflections together, there's one simple free favor I'd love for you to consider. Just tap the subscribe button so you don't miss any of our conversations here. Whatever you do, don't skip any part of this video, because the peace you're hoping for might be hidden in the very next words. There's something quietly beautiful about those tiny moments most people never notice. You know the ones I mean, the soft morning light spilling across your floor, the warmth of a mug in your hands, the way your heart feels when someone you love laughs. These moments might look ordinary from the outside, but in truth, they're anything but. The Buddha often spoke about how the mind loves to jump ahead to the next thing, believing that fulfillment lives in the future. But when you live that way, chasing the next milestone or obsessing over what's missing, you miss the magic unfolding right in front of you. Think about your last morning. Maybe you poured your coffee while thinking about all the tasks waiting for you. Maybe you scrolled through messages before you even got out of bed. Maybe you were already feeling behind before the day had really begun. This isn't your fault, it's how so many of us are conditioned to measure our days by how productive they look rather than how alive they feel. But there is another way to be, and it starts with coming back to this moment over and over until it feels like home again. There's a Japanese philosophy called Ichigo Ichi. It means one time, one meeting. It's the reminder that every experience you have, whether it's a conversation, a meal, or even a quiet moment alone, will never happen exactly this way again. When you really let that sink in, something inside you softens. You realize you don't have to wait for something bigger or more impressive to appreciate your life. This moment right here is already a gift, and it doesn't need to be perfect to be worthy of your full attention. One of the most powerful things you can do is start treating each day as a collection of small miracles instead of a checklist to get through. When you brush your teeth, feel the water and notice the texture of the bristles. When you walk to your car or the bus stop, look up at the sky instead of down at your screen. These small shifts don't take any extra time, but they change everything about how you experience the world. The Buddha taught that enlightenment isn't something you find by escaping everyday life. It's discovered by becoming fully present for it. When you see each moment as something unique and unrepeatable, you begin to love your life again, one breath at a time. There's a quiet kind of wonder that comes when you finally stop expecting everything to stay the same. Think about the moments in your life that felt the most precious, a season that passed too quickly, a friendship that changed, a place you loved that you had to leave behind. It can feel bittersweet to look back, but that sweetness is exactly what makes those memories so meaningful. In Buddhist teaching, impermanence isn't something to be afraid of. It's something to honor. The Buddha often reminded his followers that clinging to what is temporary only creates suffering because life is, by its very nature, always in motion. And while part of us wants to hold everything still, there's another part, a wiser part, that understands things are beautiful precisely because they don't last forever. When you look at cherry blossoms blooming in spring, their beauty strikes you all the more because you know they'll fall within days. If they lasted year-round, you might stop noticing them at all. It's the same with nearly everything we love. The shortness of a perfect afternoon, or the way a child's laughter echoes through a room feels tender because you know it's here only for a little while. But too often, instead of appreciating that, we tense up. We start worrying about how we'll feel when it's over. We try to plan, predict, and control what comes next, so we don't have to feel the ache of change. The Buddha taught that this resistance is like trying to stop a river with your hands, exhausting and impossible. What if you could learn to welcome the flow instead of fighting it? What if you could let each moment arrive and leave without needing to grasp it so tightly? This doesn't mean you have to pretend endings don't hurt or that loss is easy. It means you can hold joy and sadness together without letting either close your heart. When you practice seeing impermanence as a gift, You start to treasure what you have while it's here. You say, "I love you" more often. You notice the way the evening light falls across your kitchen. You thank life for small things you once ignored. Think about the last time you felt completely overwhelmed by all the things you were trying to do at once. Maybe you were answering emails while eating lunch, thinking about your to-do list while talking to someone you love, or scrolling through your phone while half listening to your own thoughts. It's so common now that we hardly question it. We call it productivity, but most of the time it just feels like constant noise. The Buddha spoke about this in simpler terms, long before the word multitasking existed. He taught that the mind, when pulled in too many directions, becomes scattered and anxious, like a candle flickering in the wind. It can never burn steady because it's always reacting to the next gust. Single tasking isn't just a cute idea or something reserved for monks in a monastery. It's a practice that can bring real peace into your life, even in the middle of your busiest day. When you give yourself permission to do only one thing at a time, you send a powerful message to your nervous system. You are safe here. You don't have to prove anything right now. You are allowed to slow down. This doesn't mean you'll accomplish less. In fact, when your mind is clear and focused, the simplest tasks feel more meaningful, and your work becomes more effective because you're bringing your whole attention to it. Consider how different your day could feel if you approached each moment with that kind of presence. When you eat, you actually taste your food. When you walk, you feel the ground under your feet. When you listen to someone, you hear not just their words but their heart. This is what the Buddha meant when he said, "When walking, walk. When eating, eat." These instructions sound so basic, but they're an invitation to be alive in your own life, instead of just getting through it. There's something almost invisible about the way regret and worry creep into your mind. One moment you're doing something ordinary, washing dishes, sitting in traffic, answering emails, and the next, you're replaying old mistakes or imagining every possible thing that could go wrong. The Buddha described this as the mind's habit of wandering into the past and the future, missing the only place life actually happens, right now. Think about how often you've lost hours of your life rehashing something you wish you'd done differently. You replay conversations, criticize yourself for not knowing better, and feel that dull ache in your chest because you can't change what's already over. And then, almost without noticing, your thoughts jump ahead to all the scenarios that could unfold tomorrow. You brace yourself for disappointment you haven't even met yet. It's exhausting, isn't it? This is the quiet prison that regret and worry build around you. They steal your energy, your creativity, and your sense of peace. And here's what makes it even harder. You probably think that if you just analyze things long enough, you'll find relief. But the truth is, no amount of mental rehearsal will rewrite the past or guarantee the future. The Buddha taught that regret and anxiety are both illusions that distract you from what is real. He often said that the past is like a memory echoing in an empty room. It can't touch you unless you choose to pick it up again. And the future? It's just a dream your mind is projecting onto the screen of your imagination. You can also try transforming regret into wisdom. When you feel yourself revisiting old mistakes, ask, "What did this teach me?" Use the past as a guidepost, not a punishment. And when anxiety shows up, remember that you don't have to plan for every possible outcome. You only have to meet each moment as it comes. As the Buddha said, "You are the sky. Everything else, it's just the weather. The storms will pass." Your job is to come home to yourself again and again, where peace has always been waiting. There's a quiet power in realizing that the people you care about most won't always be there. Not because they don't love you, but because life itself is always moving, changing, and eventually ending. The Buddha often reminded his followers that everything we hold dear is impermanent, our relationships, our health, even our own thoughts. While that can sound sad at first, it's actually a gentle invitation to stop taking your connections for granted. When you understand that nothing is promised, you start to show up differently. You listen more closely. You speak more kindly. You give your full attention because you know that each interaction is something you'll never get back. Think about the last conversation you had with someone you love. Maybe you were distracted, thinking about what you needed to do later. Or maybe you assumed there would be more time, more chances to say what you really feel. It's so easy to drift through moments half-aware, believing that tomorrow will look exactly like today. But in Buddhist teachings, every meeting is considered a once-in-a-lifetime event. Even if you see the same person every day, that exact exchange, the mood, the weather, the energy between you, will never happen again. When you really take that in, something shifts in your heart. You start to feel a deep tenderness for the people around you, even when they frustrate you. You realize that every shared moment is fragile and precious. This awareness isn't about becoming overly sentimental or fearful of loss. It's about waking up to the richness of what you already have. When you greet someone, pause long enough to look into their eyes. When you hug them, feel the warmth of their body and the way your breathing slows down together. When you talk, listen not just to the words, but to the unspoken feelings underneath. The Buddha taught that love grows strongest in presence. You don't need fancy gestures or perfect timing to deepen your connections. You only need to be there, fully and sincerely. There's something so ordinary about the little moments in your day that you probably don't give them much thought. The way your coffee smells in the morning, the softness of your blanket when you first wake up, the sound of the rain tapping against the window. We're taught that these things don't matter much because they don't look like big milestones or dramatic breakthroughs. But the Buddha taught that joy doesn't come from waiting for some perfect day or chasing a big achievement. It comes from giving your full attention to what is already here. He often reminded his followers that the mind loves to wander, to replay old stories, or jump ahead to what might happen tomorrow. But when you practice bringing your attention back to this moment, you begin to notice all the tiny miracles you were too distracted to see. Think about the last time you were truly present, even if it was just for a second. Maybe you were laughing with someone you love, or listening to a piece of music that made your heart feel soft. For that little while, you weren't worried about what comes next. You weren't criticizing yourself or wishing life looked different. You were simply there. That feeling of ease and contentment isn't as rare as it seems. It's available anytime you choose to really pay attention. Attention is like a light. When you shine it on the simple things, they start to glow in a way you might never have expected. A meal becomes more delicious. A conversation feels more meaningful. A quiet moment alone becomes a source of comfort instead of loneliness. One of the easiest ways to start practicing this is to choose a routine activity, like brushing your teeth or washing the dishes, and do it as if it were the most important thing in the world. Feel the sensations, notice the movements, breathe fully. This is mindfulness in action, and it turns ordinary moments into a place where you can feel steady and awake. The Buddha said, "When you realize nothing is lacking, the whole world belongs to you." That teaching is an invitation to stop waiting for life to impress you and start letting yourself be impressed by life as it is. When you train your mind to pay attention to the small joys, you discover that happiness isn't something you need to chase. It's something you create right here by choosing to notice and appreciate what's already in front of you. There's a moment when you finally get tired of trying to bend life into the shape you think it should be. All the energy you've poured into planning, fixing, and controlling starts to feel heavy, like carrying a burden that was never really yours to hold. The Buddha spoke often about this struggle, the way our minds cling to the illusion of control because we think it will keep us safe. But what it really does is exhaust us. We end up bracing against every possibility, convinced that if we stop anticipating and managing every detail, everything will fall apart. And yet, when you look back on your life, you can probably see that some of your most meaningful experiences weren't the ones you planned down to the last step. They were the moments you didn't expect, the ones that arrived when you finally loosened your grip and let life unfold in its own mysterious way. If you've ever stood in a river and tried to push the water back upstream, you know how pointless and draining it feels. That's what resisting the natural flow of your life is like. No matter how hard you try to force things to stay the same or to go exactly according to your script, life keeps moving. The current carries you forward whether you're ready or not. The Buddha taught that peace doesn't come from fighting this movement. It comes from trusting it, even when you can't see where it's taking you. This doesn't mean you stop caring about your choices or abandon your responsibilities. It means you recognize that your power lies in your response, not in your ability to control everything around you. Start noticing when you feel that tightening in your chest, or that urge to overthink every possible outcome. That's often the sign you're gripping too tightly. When it happens, pause and take a few conscious breaths. Feel your feet on the ground. Remind yourself that you don't need to have every answer right now. You don't need to make everything perfect to be okay. One of the most freeing realizations you can have is that life is much wiser and more generous than your fear would have you believe. The more you trust the process, the more you'll find that things often work out in ways your plans could never have imagined. When you stop trying to push the river, you finally get to feel the quiet relief of letting it carry you. That's when life begins to feel like an ally, rather than something you must conquer. And that shift is what makes room for real peace. Most of us spend so much energy trying to avoid anything that feels uncomfortable. We want things to stay familiar and safe, so we cling to what we know, even if it's not helping us grow. But the Buddha taught that real transformation doesn't happen in the spaces where everything is easy. It happens in the moments that challenge you, the moments that feel uncertain or even painful. Discomfort isn't a punishment or a sign you're failing. It's a teacher knocking at your door. It shows you the places where you still have something to learn about patience, resilience, and trust. Think about a time when you were pushed out of your comfort zone. Maybe it was starting over after a setback, ending a relationship that wasn't right, or speaking a truth you were afraid to say. At first, it probably felt overwhelming. You might have wanted to run back to what felt predictable, even if it wasn't good for you. But over time, you noticed something shift inside you. That experience softened parts of you that were rigid. It stretched your understanding of what you could handle, and it planted seeds of wisdom that no easy moment ever could have given you. Buddhist teachings often describe this process like refining gold. The raw material doesn't shine on its own. It has to be exposed to heat, to pressure, to the fire that burns away what isn't real. Only then does it reveal its brilliance. You are no different. The challenges you face are not here to break you. They are here to reveal your strength. Instead of immediately trying to numb or escape what feels hard, try sitting with it for a moment. Take a few steady breaths and ask yourself, what is this trying to teach me? Even if you don't get a clear answer right away, just being willing to ask softens your resistance. It's surprising how much of what weighs us down isn't even ours to carry forever. We collect things, old beliefs, worn-out expectations, relationships that no longer bring us peace, and hold on to them like they're proof of who we are. The Buddha often reminded his followers that attachment is one of the deepest roots of suffering, not because caring is wrong, but because clinging keeps us trapped in yesterday. When you refuse to let go of what has already served its purpose, you crowd out the space where something new could grow. Just like a tree weighed down by dead branches can't stretch toward the sunlight, you can't fully step into the next season of your life if your hands are still full of the past. Letting go doesn't mean you stop caring or that you erase what was meaningful. It means you honor it, thank it for the lessons, and release it with compassion so you can breathe again. Think about the last time you decluttered a closet. At first, it probably felt overwhelming to sort through everything. But as you started letting things go, the space began to feel lighter, clearer, and more open. Your inner world works the same way. When you release an old resentment, when you stop replaying a story about how things should have been, you create emotional space for more joy, more curiosity, and more freedom. One way to start this process is to gently question what you're holding on to. Ask yourself, does this still support who I'm becoming? Maybe there's an expectation you set years ago that no longer fits your life. Maybe there's an apology you never received, and you've been waiting for it to feel complete. The Buddha taught that freedom doesn't come from everything going your way. It comes from loosening your grip on how you think it has to look. You can practice letting go in small, simple ways. Write down what's been heavy on your mind, then read it aloud, and imagine setting it down beside you. Breathe into the feeling of space that opens up. Or visualize placing that burden on a leaf and watching it drift away down a river. These aren't just symbolic gestures. They're reminders that you are allowed to release what no longer nourishes your spirit. The more you let go, the more you realize your worth and peace were never tied to those old attachments in the first place. They've been within you all along, quietly waiting for you to set yourself free. Every day you wake up with a choice, whether you realize it or not. You can drift through your hours on autopilot, letting old habits and outside pressures pull you in 100 different directions. Or you can decide to move through your day with purpose. The Buddha taught that intention is like a seed. When you plant it mindfully, it grows into actions and experiences that reflect your deepest values. But when you don't set any intention, you end up living by accident, reacting to whatever shows up instead of responding with clarity. This is why so many people feel disconnected and unsatisfied, even when they're doing all the right things. They're living without consciously choosing how they want to show up. Think about the difference between wandering through a forest with no path in mind and walking a trail you've chosen with care. One leaves you feeling lost and uncertain. The other gives you a sense of calm, even if the way isn't always easy. Living with intention is like choosing that trail. It doesn't mean you have to control every outcome or predict every twist. It simply means you begin your day by remembering what matters most. Maybe it's kindness, maybe it's patience, maybe it's the courage to be honest with yourself and others. Whatever it is, holding it in your heart becomes your compass. One of the simplest ways to practice this is to set a daily intention each morning. Before you check your phone or start worrying about everything you have to get done, pause. Take a few breaths. Ask yourself, how do I want to show up today? Your intention could be as gentle as, today I will give myself grace, or as focused as, today I will bring my full attention to every conversation. It doesn't have to be complicated or perfect. The power comes from remembering it and returning to it throughout the day. When challenges arise, and they always will, your intention becomes an anchor. It keeps you from getting swept up in frustration or self-doubt. The Buddha often reminded his followers that mindful living isn't about never losing your way. It's about noticing when you've wandered off the path and gently guiding yourself back. Over time, this practice builds a sense of inner steadiness that can't be shaken by circumstances. You start to trust yourself more. You start to feel proud of how you're showing up, even when things don't go according to plan. And little by little, you realize you don't have to wait for some perfect future to love your life. You can start right now simply by choosing to live on purpose. No matter how many times you felt lost or uncertain, you can always begin again with a single breath and a single intention. That's the quiet strength the Buddha taught. That transformation doesn't require a new life, only a new way of seeing the one you already have. Thank you for sharing this time with me and for being part of Buddhist Journey. If today's message spoke to something in your heart, there's another video waiting here that will help you keep growing and discovering your own path. From my heart to yours, thank you for walking this journey together. Sometimes the mind feels like a room full of echoes, every regret, every worry, every what-if bouncing off the walls until it's hard to hear anything else. It's in those moments, when the noise is loudest, that we crave a little peace more than anything. You might be carrying thoughts about mistakes you can't undo, or fears about things that haven't even happened yet. That's part of being human, but it doesn't have to be your entire life. The Buddha taught that we don't have to believe every thought we think. We don't have to let them define us or steal our calm. There is another way to meet your mind, with gentleness, with understanding, and with the courage to come back to this moment, over and over again. Today, we're going to explore 6 simple Buddhist lessons that can help you step out of the storm and feel the quiet strength you already carry inside. If you feel tired of overthinking, or if you long to feel more steady no matter what life brings, stay with me until the end, because each step builds on the last, and the smallest insight could be the one that changes everything for you. And if you appreciate having a space like this, where ancient wisdom meets everyday life, there's just one small free favor I'd love for you to consider. Tap the subscribe button so you never miss these conversations. Don't skip any part of this video, because the next few minutes might hold exactly the reminder your heart has been waiting for. Sometimes the mind feels like it has a mind of its own. You might be washing dishes, driving to work, or trying to fall asleep, and suddenly you notice your thoughts spinning in 100 directions. You're thinking about something you said last week, worrying about what someone thinks of you, planning tomorrow's tasks, and wondering if you're doing life right. Before you know it, your chest feels tight, you're breathing shallow, and you can't remember what it felt like to just be here. The Buddha understood this very human habit of drifting away from the moment. He taught that most of our suffering doesn't come from what's happening right now. It comes from our mind wandering into memories of the past or predictions about the future. When the Buddha spoke about suffering, or dukkha, he didn't just mean the big pains of life. He also meant this constant unease that comes from being pulled out of presence. But he also taught that peace is never further away than the next breath. Your breath is like an anchor that's always available to steady you. When you bring your awareness back to the inhale and exhale, you interrupt the cycle of overthinking and come home to yourself, even if just for a few seconds. This doesn't mean your problems vanish, but it does mean you remember that you are more than your thoughts. You are the one observing them. Think of the last time you felt overwhelmed by your mind. Maybe it was late at night when every small worry grew into something huge. Or maybe it was in the middle of the day when your to-do list felt endless. You probably didn't notice your breathing much at all. It was likely shallow, high in your chest, or even held without realizing. The Buddha taught that the breath and the mind are linked like 2 sides of the same coin. When the mind races, the breath follows. When you consciously slow the breath, you also slow the thoughts. This is why so many meditation practices begin with simply watching the breath. It is the easiest way to remind yourself, I am here, I am safe in this moment. There's a story about a young student who asked a monk how to quiet his mind. The monk handed him a small candle and told him to walk slowly across the room without letting the flame go out. At first, the student's thoughts were everywhere. Am I doing this right? What if I fail? But as he focused on each step, each breath, and the flickering light, all that noise faded. When he reached the other side, the monk smiled and said, You see, when you give your full attention to this moment, the mind has no room to wander. You don't have to be sitting in meditation to practice this. You can do it anywhere, waiting in line, washing your hands, standing outside for a moment of fresh air. Just pause and notice your breath. Feel the way the air cools your nostrils on the inhale and warms on the exhale. Feel your chest rise and fall. Notice that for these few moments, you are not lost in thought. You are simply here. And here is where peace lives. The Buddha once said, "When you realize how perfect everything is, you will tilt your head back and laugh at the sky." This doesn't mean life will always feel easy. It means that when you learn to return to the present, even with all its imperfections, you discover a freedom that isn't dependent on circumstances. The next time your mind starts pulling you into the past or future, try this. Close your eyes, take 3 slow breaths and say silently, "This moment is enough." There's a quiet kind of suffering that creeps in when you keep turning the same problem over and over in your mind, hoping that thinking harder will finally set you free. Maybe you've replayed conversations, wondering what you should have said or tried to predict every possible outcome so you wouldn't be caught off guard. Maybe you've stayed up at night, holding on to someone's choices, wishing you could somehow make them change. This is what the Buddha called clinging, holding so tightly to something you have no power over, that your hands, your heart, and your spirit start to ache. It's so human to believe that if we just worry enough, plan enough, or analyze enough, we'll eventually feel safe. But the truth is, this endless mental gripping doesn't protect us from pain. It only multiplies it. The Buddha often reminded his followers that suffering doesn't come from the events themselves, but from how we attach to them. He once said, "You only lose what you cling to." In other words, when you wrap your peace around things you can't control, other people's behavior, the past, or the shape of the future, you give those things the power to decide how you feel every single day. Picture for a moment that you are carrying a heavy stone everywhere you go. You know it's weighing you down, but you tell yourself you can't set it down because it proves how much you care. Or maybe you think that if you just hold on long enough, something will finally shift. But all the while, your back is aching, your steps are slower, and you can't fully enjoy the journey in front of you. Letting go doesn't mean you don't care. It doesn't mean you're giving up or that what happened doesn't matter. It simply means you recognize the difference between what is yours to carry and what isn't. There is an old story of a man who was determined to move a giant rock blocking his path. Day after day he pushed and strained, convinced that if he just tried harder, he could move it. He stopped eating well, stopped resting, stopped living. One day, a monk walked by and asked why he was suffering so much. The man explained, "I have to move this rock or I'll never be at peace." The monk looked at him kindly and said, "Who told you it was your rock to move? Sometimes the weight you're carrying isn't really yours. Sometimes the greatest act of courage is to set it down." Buddhism teaches that acceptance is not the same as resignation. Acceptance simply means you stop resisting reality as it is in this moment. You can still take wise action where you can, but you no longer spend all your energy fighting what you can't change. When you accept that life includes uncertainty and loss, you open the door to something softer. Trust. Trust that even when things don't go the way you hoped, you are still okay. Trust that you have the resilience to meet whatever arises. A helpful practice is to pause whenever you feel your mind starting to spin with all the things you wish were different. Take a deep breath and ask yourself, "Can I control this?" If the answer is no, see if you can release the need to fix it, even for just one moment. Sometimes you'll need to ask yourself this question again and again, and that's okay. Every time you practice letting go, you strengthen the part of you that knows peace doesn't depend on perfect circumstances. The Buddha often used the image of a lotus flower to describe this freedom. The lotus grows in muddy water, surrounded by conditions it cannot change. But it doesn't resist the mud or wish it was somewhere else. It simply rises above the water and blooms anyway. You too can rise. You can meet this moment as it is, without needing to control everything around you. There's a quiet kind of relief that comes when you realize you don't have to do everything perfectly to be at peace. So much of overthinking is really just a desperate attempt to get life exactly right. We rehearse conversations in our heads, we plan every detail, we second-guess even the smallest decisions. And underneath all of that effort is usually the same fear, that if we don't get it perfect, we'll somehow fall short, fall behind, disappoint someone, or lose something we care about. The Buddha taught that this endless craving for control and certainty is one of the roots of suffering. He reminded his followers that the more we chase perfection, the more tangled and exhausted we become, because perfection isn't real. It's just a story the mind tells to keep us running in circles. In Buddhist teachings, there is a deep respect for simplicity. A simple life isn't an empty or dull life. In fact, it's often the most fulfilling because it creates space for what really matters. When your mind is always cluttered with expectations and comparisons, it's almost impossible to feel present. You start measuring your worth by how well you keep up with everyone else, or by how closely you meet some imaginary standard. But when you start letting go of that pressure, something softens inside you. You begin to notice that joy doesn't come from doing everything. It comes from doing a few things with presence and sincerity. There's a story about a young monk who went to his teacher feeling overwhelmed. He said, "Master, I'm trying so hard to be good at everything, to be disciplined, to meditate perfectly, to serve everyone, to never feel angry or tired, but it feels like no matter how much I do, it's never enough." The teacher looked at him with kind eyes and said, "You are carrying so much on your shoulders. What would happen if you put some of it down?" The monk hesitated. "I'm afraid I'll fail," he whispered. The teacher smiled gently. Failing at being perfect is not failing at all. It's the first step toward being real. This is the heart of choosing simplicity over perfection. It's understanding that life isn't a contest to see who can do the most or who can appear the most flawless. It's an invitation to be honest with yourself about what actually matters and what you can gently release. Think about how often you rush through your day, ticking boxes off a list, never pausing to feel the satisfaction of what you've done. When you simplify, you create the space to appreciate small moments, a cup of tea, a warm conversation, the feeling of your feet on the floor. In Buddhism, there's a word, shibumi, that points to the understated beauty of simplicity. It's a reminder that the most meaningful things are usually the simplest. A quiet room, a sincere smile, the steady rhythm of your breath. One of the most powerful ways to practice this is to notice when your mind starts racing ahead with all the ways you think you should be better. Instead of chasing that feeling of never enough, pause and ask yourself, what actually needs my energy right now? Maybe it's finishing one task with care instead of juggling 5. Maybe it's listening fully to a loved one without also scrolling your phone. Maybe it's just taking a deep breath and giving yourself permission to rest. The Buddha often said that when we let go of unnecessary striving, we make room for peace. You can still have goals, and you can still grow. But when you stop believing that your worth depends on getting everything right, you free yourself from the heaviness that perfection brings. You begin to understand that a simple life, one where you give your attention to what's real and let the rest fall away, is a powerful life. There's something quietly comforting in knowing that nothing stays exactly the same. Even when life feels stuck, even when it seems like your worries will never loosen their grip, everything is already shifting in ways you can't see yet. It's so easy to forget this when you're caught in overthinking. Your mind tells you the feeling is permanent, that the sadness, confusion, or fear is here to stay. But the Buddha often reminded his followers that impermanence is the natural law of all things. He called it anicca, the simple truth that everything arises and everything passes away. No thought, no emotion, no situation can hold you forever. Just like the seasons, your mind has its own cycles of rain and sun, growth and stillness. When you pause to really reflect on this, you start to feel a little lighter. You realize that even your heaviest moments have a softness at their edges, a promise that they will eventually dissolve. Think of how a storm looks when you're standing under it, soaked and shivering. It feels endless, but from far above the clouds, the sky is always clear. Your awareness, that quiet presence behind every thought, is like that clear sky. No matter how many storms pass through, it remains untouched. When you start to see your worries like passing weather, instead of something fixed, you create space between you and the noise in your head. The Buddha shared a story about a woman named Kisa Gotami who lost her child and was drowning in grief. She went to the Buddha, begging for medicine to bring her son back. The Buddha told her to find a mustard seed from any home that had never known death. She searched every house in her village and beyond, but could not find one. Every family had faced loss. When she returned empty-handed, she finally understood. Suffering touches everyone, and everything we love is subject to change. It was only through this realization that she began to heal. This story reminds us that accepting impermanence doesn't mean we stop caring. It means we stop fighting the nature of life. You might be wondering how to trust this truth when you're in the middle of pain or fear. Start small. Instead of trying to force yourself to feel differently, just notice that feelings are like waves. Some are gentle, some are fierce, but all of them rise and fall. When you wake up tomorrow, your thoughts will already be a little different. Your body will feel a little different. The world around you will have shifted in tiny, invisible ways. If you can trust that change is always happening, you don't have to be so afraid of what you feel right now. One helpful practice is to remind yourself throughout the day. This too is passing. Whether it's discomfort or joy, stress or peace, everything is in motion. The Buddha taught, all conditioned things are impermanent. When one sees this with wisdom, one turns away from suffering. When you stop clinging to the idea that things must stay the same, or that you must have everything figured out, your heart softens. You can let each experience come and go without gripping it so tightly. You can also look back on your own life and see the proof of this teaching. Think of a time when you felt certain you wouldn't get through something, a heartbreak, a disappointment, a moment of deep uncertainty. Now from where you stand, you can see how much has changed. You survived, you grew, you learned something about yourself. This is the quiet power of impermanence. It means no pain is final, no setback is the end of the story. Trusting in change doesn't mean you have to enjoy every difficult feeling. It simply means you no longer have to build your identity around it. You can say to yourself, I feel anxious right now, and that's okay, it won't stay forever. When you practice meeting each moment with this gentleness, you create space for something new to enter. Patience, clarity, relief. Sometimes the mind can feel like a storyteller that never stops talking. From the moment you wake up, it starts spinning tales, some hopeful, some fearful, some that make you feel small and unworthy. And because these stories come from inside your own head, it's easy to assume they must be true. But the Buddha often reminded his students that thoughts are just passing events in the mind, like clouds drifting across a wide blue sky. They appear, they move, and they disappear. They aren't permanent and they aren't always accurate. Think about it for a moment. How many times have you believed a thought that later turned out to be completely wrong? Maybe you were convinced someone was angry with you only to learn they were just tired. Or you told yourself you would surely fail at something, and then you did it just fine. This is the nature of the mind. It guesses, it predicts, it judges, but it doesn't always reflect reality. The Buddha taught that our suffering often begins when we attach to these thoughts as if they are absolute truths. When you start to see them as temporary visitors, not facts, you begin to feel lighter. There is a story of a young monk who came to his teacher in great distress. "Master," he said, "my mind is full of terrible thoughts. I try to meditate, but they keep coming, and I feel ashamed." The teacher smiled gently and asked him to look out the window. "What do you see?" "I see the clouds moving across the sky. the student replied. And do the clouds belong to the sky? No, they are just passing through. Exactly, said the teacher. Your thoughts are like those clouds. They come and go. The sky doesn't hold on to them. Neither should you. When you notice a painful thought, maybe one that says you're not good enough or that you'll never be happy, you have a choice. You don't have to argue with it or push it away. You can simply acknowledge it. Ah, here's that old story again. You can watch it just as you would watch a leaf float past on a river. The more you practice this, the more you'll realize you are not your thoughts. You are the awareness that sees them come and go. The Buddha taught, with our thoughts we make the world. This doesn't mean that every thought is worthy of your belief. It means that whatever you keep repeating in your mind will shape how you feel, how you act, and how you experience life. If you feed the thought, I am unworthy, you begin to shrink into that identity. But if you let that thought drift by without grabbing it, you leave space for something kinder to grow. One simple practice is to question your thoughts instead of automatically believing them. When a stressful idea arises, pause and ask yourself, is this absolutely true? Can I be sure? Often you'll discover the answer is no. Maybe it's just fear speaking or an old memory replaying itself out of habit. Another question you can ask is, who would I be without this thought? Sometimes just imagining yourself free of it helps you see how unnecessary it really is. It's important to remember that you're not trying to get rid of all thoughts. That's impossible. The mind will always create them, but you don't have to give every one of them your energy. As the Zen saying goes, you can't stop the waves, but you can learn to surf. Watching your thoughts without judgment is like learning to balance on those waves. They keep coming, but you don't have to be knocked over by them. Over time, this practice of observing rather than believing will build an inner calm. You'll start to recognize the patterns. Maybe certain thoughts show up when you're tired or stressed. Instead of letting them take over, you can meet them with curiosity. You can say, hello, old friend, I see you. And then you can gently let them pass. Some days it feels like life is moving faster than you can catch up. Your mind jumps from one thought to the next before you've even had a chance to breathe. You replay old conversations, worry about tomorrow's challenges, and try to hold everything together. But in the middle of all this rushing and reaching, there is a quieter space inside you that rarely gets your attention. The Buddha called this space awareness, an unshakable presence that's always here no matter what's happening. It doesn't ask you to change your life overnight or to become someone else. It simply invites you to return, again and again, to the moment you are already in. Mindfulness isn't a fancy idea reserved for monks sitting on mountaintops. It's something you can practice anywhere, in the car, at your desk, in the middle of a conversation. The beauty of mindfulness is that it meets you exactly where you are. When your mind feels crowded, the first step is just to notice. Notice the tension in your shoulders, the shallow breaths in your chest, the way your thoughts pull you into 1,000 directions. You don't have to judge it or fix it. The simple act of noticing is powerful all on its own because it interrupts the cycle of autopilot. The Buddha often reminded his students that awareness itself is healing. He once said, "When the mind is calm, the breath is calm. When the breath is calm, the mind is calm." It's like a bridge. Each side supports the other. When you feel scattered, you can always cross that bridge by returning to your breath. Try this. The next time you feel overwhelmed, pause for just 1 minute. Close your eyes if you can, and take a slow, gentle inhale. Feel the air entering your nose, filling your lungs. Then exhale slowly, noticing how the tension begins to soften, even if only a little. This is not about forcing your mind to be silent. It's about giving yourself permission to rest in awareness. There's a story about a young disciple who complained to his teacher that his mind was like a wild horse. "It never stops running," he said. "It drags me wherever it wants." The teacher smiled and led him to a river. They watched the water flow over smooth stones. "Your thoughts are like this river," the teacher explained. You cannot dam it or stop it forever, but you can learn to sit by its banks and watch it pass. That is the heart of mindfulness. You don't have to jump in and wrestle with every current. You can let your thoughts move without believing each one deserves your energy. Mindfulness also means noticing the small, ordinary things that you often overlook. The feeling of warm water on your hands as you wash the dishes, the softness of your clothes against your skin, the quiet sound of your own breath as it rises and falls. These tiny details are always here, waiting to remind you that life is happening right now. The Buddha taught that when you are truly present, even the simplest moment becomes sacred. You don't have to wait for a perfect situation to feel at peace. You can choose to be here fully, even in the middle of uncertainty. The more you practice, the more you'll notice that mindfulness doesn't erase your problems, but it does change the way you experience them. Instead of reacting out of habit, you create a small space between what's happening and how you respond. In that space, you find freedom. You might still feel sadness or frustration, but you no longer feel consumed by it. You can watch your feelings with curiosity instead of fear. You begin to realize that you are not your worries, not your regrets, not your racing thoughts. You are the awareness behind them, steady, open, and compassionate. Thank you for sharing this time and this space with me today. Remember, no matter how busy or tangled your thoughts become, you always have the power to return to your breath, to your awareness, and to the quiet place inside you that nothing can shake. The Buddha taught that peace isn't something you find outside, it's something you uncover within, one mindful moment at a time. If this message touched something in your heart, there's another video waiting for you right here that will help you keep growing on this path. Thank you for being part of Buddhist journey with me. Stay kind to yourself, stay present, and may each day bring you closer to the calm and clarity you deserve.